the bluebird interest in Kingsport got started was I was in a Greenbelt meeting once and on the committee for the Greenbelt, and I mentioned that we had a lot of good habitat for bluebirds and that I thought we ought to put up some bluebird boxes. And the response was, yeah, that's a really good idea, go do it. So that's how I got started in the bluebird business. So I began to try to find out more about bluebirds. I did not know very much then. And looking at what kind of boxes we needed on the trail, what would be best, doing a little bit of research about that, and got some interest in it. So I thought, well, if I'm doing this, if I'm interested in it, maybe there'll be some other people in Kingsport who will. So we put a little clip in the paper one February about 19 years ago, and told everybody we're going to be talking about this at the Civic Auditorium. And on a cold January night, some 40 people showed up. So that got me all excited about it, and I started then having visions of having an organization formed around that. Audubon had sort of gone out of existence at that time, and I think that a lot of those people were folks who were interested in Audubon. So we started with that, and I began to look at how to build the boxes. But I never could get anybody interested in forming an organization around that. So one day I got a call from one of the television stations that wanted to meet down here and talk about the bluebirds. And the person said to me, well, what's the name of this organization? And we didn't have a name. So I just made one up right then and said, well, we're going to call it the Kingsport Bluebird Society. So that's how the name got started. Well, the next thing that I did was trying to find some people who helped build the boxes. And we did some research on this particular box. It's called a Peterson box, and it has the best success record for fledgling young birds. So we started by building that particular box. And at that time, it was pretty difficult to build. I've since jigged it up, and it's not so hard to build now. And we started putting up the bluebird houses along the Greenbelt. We have about, I guess, 15 to 18 houses on the Greenbelt now that we try to monitor. And we have had some people who helped build the boxes. Early on, we had one fellow who built a lot of boxes out of some antique wood that he found. He found a house that was some 100 years old and began to build the birds' houses out of that. Then we started selling the bluebird boxes at Exchange Place when they had their spring flings, and the money from that went into the Kingsport Tomorrow coffers under our name, so that we could have that money to build more, get more wood, and also to sponsor talks. So back in those days, about every year we had some kind of a meeting of the Bluebird Society. We've had anywhere from as few as 12 people there to as many as over 200, so depending upon the program that we've had. So it's existed that long. We try to have somebody that monitors these houses every week. That's not been completely possible for us to do, but we want to do that. One reason is that we want to know if there's any predators that get into the houses, and we have had a lot of predation along here. Right now, I would guess there are about 50 houses out between here and the golf course. But we've made and given out and sold well over 1,000 boxes in that period of time. I mentioned that we monitor. We want somebody to check the birds' houses every day or every week. And keep records of what kind of number of birds that are fledged and number of the kinds of birds that are fledged. We've had, in the last 10 years, we've had a bird that's not normally around this part of the world. It wasn't before, who started moving in here, called the tree swallow. The tree swallow likes the same habitat that the bluebird does, unfortunately. The fortunate thing about it is that the tree swallow is an air feeder. The bluebird is a ground feeder, so they don't compete for the same food. So we can put up, if we have a tree swallow, we'll put up another birdhouse right next to it, or even back to back, and those will tend to be occupied by a tree swallow and a bluebird, because neither species likes anybody else near their nesting. So they'll run off anybody else that's doing that. If people are interested in joining the Bluebird Society or want to get information about it, the best way to do that would be just to go to the Kitty Frazier's office in the Civic Auditorium, athletic office, give your name and address and telephone number there, and we'll put your name on a mailing list. And then when we do have meetings, we'll send you a personal invitation for the meetings. Right now there are no dues or anything. It's just a matter of people who are interested showing up and participating. We collect names at the exchange place every year, and when we have a meeting we will put out pieces of paper and let people sign up to get their name on the mailing list. Right now there's probably 300 or so people's names who are on that list. So we're always anxious to have people come and join and be glad to find out who's interested in monitoring or who's interested in building houses or anything having to do with the bluebirds.